I didn't even test the mic. Oh, okay. Mic's working. I was going to say, I didn't even do a volume check on it. Readjust it here a little bit. All right, we live on both. Okay. Well, Ron's here, Kathy's here, and let's play some music. From the basement storeroom of station WDWL TV, it's finally the grumpy old man. Up, and Linda's here. Okay, roll call is done. You don't do a couple of shows and subscribers bail like rats jumping off a sinking ship. Down to 109. So, how's everybody since I haven't been here? My three loyal people. Hang on a minute. Text message coming in. Text message. I've been waiting for this. Okay. Hang on. Let me answer back. Send. Gone. Okay. Actually, it was very mild here today. No humidity and 74. Of course, this morning, what the hell time was it? 6 o'clock. I was freezing my ass off. I forgot to turn the air conditioner off. And then the goddamn temperature went down to like 50 something. So I was like a frozen popsicle. Too bad I couldn't store all that cold air for. Oh man, it is going to be deadly Thursday. Well, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Oh, the temperature's going to be ungodly. Going to be in the high 90s with heavy humidity. I ain't looking forward to that. Typical Cleveland weather. Makes me wonder why I didn't move to Florida when I had the chance. I could have been in a nice double-wide trailer down in Clearwater. Although, thank God I didn't move. Holy shit. Lot rent down in Florida is unbelievable. my niece was telling me she's got my aunt and uncle's beautiful double wide for sale, and the lot rent is $850 a month. And that's not counting, I think she said it's like $300 a month park fee. So you're looking at $1,100 a month. I don't know how they justify that. I really don't. And this park where all these trailers, it's all retirees. Talk about sticking it in their ass. How anybody can afford $1,100 a month? Worse than a mortgage. Oh, I got something neat here. I bought it for my kitty. It's a cat drinking fountain. It has 4 little water trails. It's got a filter down in the bottom. A little cat drinking fountain because my cat loves to stand by the sink. So I bought him a little kitty drinking fountain. Got it off of Temu, $5.60. It arrived today. And I have another one coming. Should be here tomorrow, I would hope. That one was $6 and change. It's got a little bigger tank. But I can't wait to fill it with water and watch him drink out of it. Yeah, a little kitty cat drinking fountain. Knowing him, he'll play in it all day. There'll be water everywhere. Yeah, if I'm at the sink, he jumps up, and then I turn the cold water on so it just trickles, and he sits there going blah, 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 blah. So I saw this on Temu. I was like, I'll get him a little kitty cat drinking fountain. Although I can see him, he'll have his feet in it and everything. Temu is now slowly doing away with using the post office. They have this company, this GoFo Express. Lately, everything that comes from Temu has been delivered by this GoFo Express. And I talked to my letter carrier Friday, and she told me it's noticeable. They're getting less and less packages through the post office. But this GoFo Express, they use their own cars and barely speak English. Because I had a delivery Friday, and I ordered 2 items. Hey, Mrs. Emmons here. I ordered 2 items. As a matter of fact, a pair of seat covers for the Passat. Dummy me, instead of putting down 2, I ordered 1. I realized my mistake, so I ordered the second one. I get the 1 seat cover Friday. I'm still waiting for the second one. Because I asked the girl, I said, oh, only 1? 1? I said, you don't have 2? No 2. 1. Okay. And FedEx is starting to piss me off too. I had 2 packages that were supposed to be here today. And so far, 10 after 7, and they're not here yet. Well, Mrs. M, if you noticed, I missed a couple of days, and I have subscribers bail. I'm down to 109 now. I'm going in reverse again. All right, Mrs. M, thanks for popping in. Then earlier today, my neighbor made a stop at my favorite Polish meat store, and he got some Smokies. He brought me over a couple, and I haven't had Smokies from this place in probably 10 years. I'm eating them. Now, mind you, I don't have any fucking teeth. I bit my goddamn tongue. And is it sore? I was like, how the hell can you not have any teeth and bite your tongue? But oh, I'm going to have to make a trip down over on Fleet Avenue. Get me some Smokies. Oh, God, were they delicious. Brought back a lot of memories. Especially like when I was a little kid. Getting all the Smokies I could eat for free. That was even better. And then tomorrow, I have the gas company coming. Every 2 years or 3 years, they have to inspect your gas meter. Now, when I was living up the street, they came in to inspect the gas meter. Next thing I know, a couple days later, they're digging the whole goddamn front yard up, laying new gas line, and they put the meter on the outside of the house, which I liked even better, but they didn't even tell me. They just showed up one day. I get a knock on the door. We have to install a new gas line. Oh yeah? How much is that going to cost? Oh, it's free. Okay. Next thing I look and there's a backhoe in the front yard digging a big fucking trench from the side of the house all the way out to the street. I was like, holy shit. So I hope that don't happen here. Because when they filled everything in, they just kind of took the bucket from the backhoe and just tapped the dirt. Didn't level anything out. No. Then a couple days later, they're spraying instant lawn. Yeah, this guy shows up, has a big tank on the back of a trailer. He gets out with a hose and he's spraying this green shit. I said, what the hell is that? He said, it's grass seed mixed with fertilizer and, yeah, spray on lawn. It didn't grow too bad. But I hope they don't dig up the lawn here. Oh, God. Boy, did I make a pig out of myself at the German restaurant. Oh, man. Because the waitress, she goes, are you going to order, off the menu or are you going to the smorgasbord? I said, well, it depends. I said, how does that smorgasbord work? She said, well, it's all you can eat. I said, I have been to smorgasbords where you go up and you take your first plate. And then after that, they charge you for every trip. She said, oh no, you can go up as much as you want as long as when we come to pick up the dirty plate, it's clean. I said, do I have to lick the plate? She said, well, not that clean. I said, oh, okay. Oh, man, the schnitzel. Oh, I think I had 4 plates full. And the sauerbraten melt in your mouth. Oh. And the best tasting bratwurst I ever ate. It was so good I wanted to put a few in my pocket and take them home. I didn't bother too much with like the potato salad. They had like 4 different kinds of potato salad and they had macaroni salad, regular salad. No. If I'm going to fill my stomach, I'm going to fill it with good stuff. Yeah, I know about that right away stuff because my cousin at the back of his property, they're big power lines that, and if they have to do anything with the power lines, they have the right to drive in your property and do whatever they want. Oh, yeah, Kathy, my niece used to do that. Would piss my uncle off something fierce. Because he would, his line always was, no dessert until you clean your plate. And then she'd be picking up on it. He was like, I didn't mean that clean. Yeah, she'd take it. Although, the way he used to do it, and I could understand why she licked it, in order to get your dessert, your plate had to be clean enough to turn over. So she would make sure the plate was clean. Yeah, I remember one time they had to do something with the power lines. And they came in with big, huge fucking bucket trucks and all that, and really tore everything up at the back of the lot. And when they fixed it and they drove out, they told my cousin, nope, we don't have to fix that. We have the right of way back there. So he never bothered with the back part. He wouldn't even cut the goddamn lawn back there. He figured if you're going to drive big trucks in and tear everything up, I'm not maintaining that. Because it was like the last 30 feet of his property. I think it was 30 feet. They had right away. They could come in, do what they wanted. And I'll tell you what, it was kind of nerve-wracking. Because if you sat out back during the summer, those power lines hummed. You would hear like, It was scary. I could imagine how much voltage was going through there, but the power lines would hum in the summer. But the first time they drove in with them trucks and they tore everything up, matter of fact, he had asked the foreman, he goes, what's the footage? And he said, the last 30 feet of your property, we have the right of way to. So he had the guy show him. And they sprayed it with that orange paint that they spray. And after that 30 feet, his attitude was, fuck it. It may be my property, but you guys screwed it up. I ain't doing nothing with it. And he never did. He'd cut the lawn. There'd be weeds 5 foot tall back there. And he was like, screw it. And then after a rain, the insulators would arc. It was scary. I told him, I said, I'd never have a house with them goddamn high tension power towers. That's like down by the lakefront. They have one of them big giant propellers. And I drove down there one day just to get a look at it. And you don't realize how huge them things are until you're underneath them. And them blades, whoop, 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 whoop. You could hear them blades cutting the air. Whoop. I was like, holy shit. I regret not recording it because the noise that came off of them blades when they were whipping around. Of course, them blades are like 60, 70 feet. You don't realize how big them things are until you're underneath one. And then I was watching a documentary, was sometime last year, about the people that maintain them things. And inside them things is like 2,000 steps. They have to go up. And then they can literally stand on top. They shut the blade off, and they can literally stand up on top of that big generator. It's, I think it's called the Space Science Museum on the lakefront. They have one of them big giant propellers. Car alarms, like somebody's going to steal it. I don't know what year Honda he's got. I would say maybe a 2016, 2017. And he's got the ugliest fucking rims on it. And that's why he's setting the alarm in case somebody wants to steal it. But ugly rims, ugh. I wanted to ask him if he got him at a garage sale, but I don't want to piss him off. He's fixing my car. Linda, I was over at his house. There was a thunderstorm. And as the rain was hitting the towers, it was arcing all over the place. Every tower, it was like an electrical light show. I was like, oh, I wouldn't live here. And then, like I say, those power lines hum. I remember, oh God, it's got to be back in the 70s or 80s. People were suing the power company saying that those power lines were emitting like radiation or some shit. But there'd be no way I would buy a house with that shit in the back of my property. Or like you got, goddamn gas line blow up. No, thank you. But unfortunately, somebody has to put up with it. It would be nice, like, if they gave you, like, a 50% discount on your gas or something. Although, up the street, a matter of fact, I drove past the other day just to. There was a guy back in the mid to late 50s that literally had a gas well dug in the back of his backyard. And he has free gas. Whoever lives in that house has free gas for life because it's his own private fucking gas well. I remember the big derrick like you'd see on the movies. They're drilling away, and next thing you know, they hit natural gas, and I don't know what it cost him. But unfortunately, it's just him. He can't pipe it to his neighbor's house or anything. But yeah, he's got his own private gas well. Talk about somebody that could turn their furnace up to 100 degrees in the winter and not have to worry about a gas bill. Yeah, I had to be 8, 10 years old. They erected that big derrick and started drilling. I hope he made his money back because that had to cost him a fortune. But that house, and it sold a couple of times, and in the listing, it says private gas well. Now I'm sure that whoever buys the house, they probably have to pay to keep that thing maintained and inspected and everything, but yeah, it's the only house in the whole area, private gas well. That's like when I got my new internet service and there something went haywire with it. So Spectrum had to send a guy out to check. And the guy told me that when he had started with Spectrum, he worked on the towers. And I asked him, I says, how do you get up there? Well, you have to climb. Because he installed the microwave dishes. And I asked him, I said, why did you quit? That had to pay big money. And he said one day, the guy that was working with him, he didn't know him because he had just met him that day, slipped, and he didn't have his harness clipped in, and fell off the tower. And of course, there was no need to hurry down because he was not alive when he hit the bottom. But he said the guy was kind of a show-off, you know. He was hanging over the edge, hooking a cable up, and he didn't have his harness clipped into the safety ring or whatever. And he slipped, and it was like, whoa, see ya. There would be no way you would ever get me up there. I don't care what you would be making an hour. No way. Not to mention having to climb up there. You got to be in top physical condition. Not to mention, you know, you're climbing up, and then you have to climb back down. Not for me. Oh, Ron, he had some beautiful photographs that he had taken because he was somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know, Kansas, Idaho, some of it. And the pictures were gorgeous. But he told me after that guy fell off, it was more his wife. Because he went home and he went, you would not believe what happened at work. And she was like, no more tower climbing for you. Yeah, I'm sure they were probably nesting. I would think that would be kind of a drawback. The goddamn birds nesting in them towers. But he had some gorgeous pictures. Absolutely beautiful. Because some of them were taken like at dusk. And, you know, you could see like 5 cities over almost, you know, all the lights coming on. Beautiful pictures. But not the way I'd be wanting to take pictures. No. Mm-mm. Plus, he was mentioning something about you always had to make sure everything was all shut off. Certain power lines or something. I didn't understand it all. because I can't remember. There was one giant tower. I can't remember how many foot tall he said, because it took him like 2.5 hours to climb to the top of this thing. I was like, not for me. I have a hard enough time climbing up on the roof. That was like both of my brother-in-laws were firemen. And there'd be like a high rise fire, and they'd be up in that top of that fucking ladder that's 200 feet off the ground, spraying water. Although now I've noticed on the newer trucks, they aim them things with rope. Guys don't climb up. They open the nozzle with one rope and then they aim it with another rope. They don't go up on the ladders anymore. That's like years ago, the firemen used to ride on the back of the truck. They just hang on the... And then in Cleveland one day, a fireman fell off and died. And the next day, the mayor issued a proclamation that said no more riding on the fire trucks. And until Cleveland got four-door, big cab fire trucks, they would have to sit up on the bed of the back of the truck. They couldn't hang off the back because you couldn't get all them guys in a regular cab fire truck. That's why all the goddamn fire trucks now are four-door cabs. Although the job I would love to have would be the tiller man on a ladder truck. I think that is so cool. They sit back there and steer the ass end of the fucking fire truck. You get up on the roof of your truck to clean your gutters. Oh my God. Or do you... No, you wouldn't be standing in the bed. Your truck ain't that high. You have to get up on the roof of the truck, right, Kathy? I'll tell you what, it beats a ladder. Jesus. Oh yeah, Ron, he told me that a couple of times. You have to go up, climb all the way up on that goddamn tower because one of the blinking lights stopped working. Of course, that's why they went to strobe lights now. Because strobe lights last like 5 times longer than a blinking light bulb. Yeah, I was watching a video the other night on the Los Angeles Fire Department, and when they bring out the big ladder trucks, that guy's steering the ass end of the fucking ladder truck. I was going to say, wasn't it the FAA so that the goddamn planes wouldn't hit the goddamn towers? Yeah, I would think it'd be more for airline safety than FCC. Yeah, can you imagine a goddamn airliner hitting one of them fucking towers? Oh, holy Christ. Yeah, I could see why the FAA was on somebody's ass to get that fixed in a hurry. Well, yeah, like Three Stooges or, God, I remember Our Gang or the Little Rascals. The fire truck would go around the corner and the ladder would be in the middle of the fucking intersection. Now, see, for years, they weren't, that wasn't enclosed back there. The poor firemen sat and there was just a little windshield in front of them. Now it's all enclosed and heated and but they, oh Christ, LA, I think for every goddamn fire they bring out two or three or four of them goddamn tiller trucks. Although I remember years ago, they had one down, I want to say 25th and Clark. And the only way they could back into the firehouse was he had to steer the ass end of that because the firehouse was kind of at an angle from the intersection. So they would pull up the street, and then he'd have to steer the ass end of that thing into the firehouse. But that was the job I always wanted, being a tiller man on a ladder truck. Because I would have taken some wide corners. Whoa! Probably been the last time they let me drive the ass end of the truck. They finally closed that. Well, they closed a couple of the firehouses on 25th Street. They built new ones. I know the one firehouse, a guy bought it and converted it into living quarters. I can almost imagine what it costs to heat that thing. Really. Yeah, he bought the one up around 25th and Broadview and converted it. Although it's sad with all the new firehouses, they're all one level. They don't go down the fire pole anymore. God, I can remember being in grade school. We did a field trip to one of the firehouses. And before we left, we got to go down the fire pole because they showed us how to wrap our arms and legs around, and then, of course, there was a fireman at the bottom to catch us. But that was neat. Everybody got in line, whoever wanted to go down the fire pole. I had so much fun, I wanted to do it a couple of times. They were like, no. But all the firehouses now are one floor. All the old traditions are gone. God, you rarely see a firehouse that has a Dalmatian anymore. I remember growing up, goddamn every fire truck had a goddamn Dalmatian riding on it. You got to go down the fire pole too? That was fun. But it was too fast. Done. But just before we got ready to leave and get on the bus, the fireman said, all right, anybody that wants to go down the pole, come on upstairs. Then they showed us how to wrap your arms and legs around and yahoo! But they don't do that no more. No more fire poles. No more Dalmatians. I remember driving past the firehouses when I first got my license. And you would always see a Dalmatian at every firehouse. No more. No fire poles. No Dalmatians. Every firehouse had a dog. Every firehouse. Then, I don't know if they passed an ordinance or what, but you don't see Dalmatians at firehouses anymore. Maybe out in the country, I don't know. I know any of the firehouses I drive past around here, you don't see Dalmatians. Because the Dalmatian always rode on the back of the truck. He'd be barking at everybody. Fire truck would be going by, dog would be barking with the siren. And they don't ring the bells anymore. Now, fire trucks, they got the big chrome bell on the front. They always used to ring the bell. They got away from that, too. Because I remember you'd hear the siren and the bell. And the fireman that would be riding on the right side of the cab, he'd be ringing the bell. Ding, 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 ding. I'm like, why have that goddamn big hunk of chrome on the front of the fire truck and not ring it. Although I think they're slowly doing away with that too. The bell costs too much money. No more bell. But fire trucks always had a bell. Christ, I remember when Cleveland had streetcars. And the streetcar would ring the bell at every intersection. You know, ding, 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 ding. Then they did away with streetcars. At least in Cleveland. Because I remember downtown they had, after the streetcars, they had electric buses. And the buses had things that attached to the electrical cables. Yeah, well, good old, Nolans. That's a city that still lives in the past. I wonder how much it costs to ride a streetcar. They got to have a fare box like a bus. But I would love to ride on a streetcar. It would bring back memories of when I was a little kid. Because I remember the streetcars used to run up West 25th Street. And when my grandmother would take me downtown, we'd get on the streetcar. And it would take us to 25th and Detroit. Then we would have to walk over the bridge because the streetcars didn't run over the bridge. They actually ran under it. But my grandmother was always afraid to ride under a bridge because you would get off the streetcar and then you would walk down to the level under the bridge, and then the streetcars ran from one end of the bridge to the other. People don't know that in Cleveland. The Detroit Superior Bridge used to have streetcars that ran underneath it. Well, my grandmother was always afraid. She was afraid we'd fall off into the water. I don't know when they did away with it. But people don't realize underneath the Detroit Superior Bridge is another level. I don't know if maybe they use it for maintenance, but you used to be able to ride from one end to the other under the bridge. Then you would come up on the next level, the upper level, and get on a streetcar and ride through downtown. But my grandmother always, we got to walk over the bridge. I ain't riding under it. The only reason I know is my grandfather took me on it once. And it was like, don't tell your grandmother. I thought it was cool. You're looking out over the edge of the streetcar and all you see is water underneath you. Well, they still have mountain. What is it, San Francisco? There's a lot of places that still have newer versions. But Cleveland, they did away with them all. But very few people know of that second level underneath the Detroit Superior Bridge. Matter of fact, they did away with. You can't even go down there anymore. They did away with the entrances to go down. But yeah, there was one time my grandfather said, "I'll take you on the streetcar under the bridge. Don't tell Grandma." And I never did. But it was cool. Matter of fact, there's still areas on 25th Street where all they did was paved over the tracks. They never removed them. They just put down a big thick layer of asphalt. That's like, we still have red brick streets around here. They slowly did away with a lot of them, but there's one right around the corner from me. It's red brick. Because it's funny, in the summer the weeds grow. But yeah, right around the corner from me. And it's the only red brick street that's still left. It's bumpy as hell, but it's all from one end to the other red brick. They were going to cover it over with asphalt, and the neighbors threw a fit. They were like, "No, no, we like this old. It's one of the last ones in the neighborhood." Because every goddamn street in this neighborhood was red brick. I felt sorry for the guys because that was all done by hand. There weren't machines back in the day. Put down one brick at a time. Really? I wonder if they're still, because over the years they just pave over them. But I think it's cool. The one right around the corner from me. A matter of fact, I could throw a stone from my front yard and hit it. Is the only one that's still left in this neighborhood. Now, there's a couple of areas, like on 143rd, they left a certain section of red brick. Matter of fact, when you come off of Peerless, it's red brick until you get to the freeway bridge. And then, of course, the freeway bridge is cement. And I think for like 2 or 3 streets, it's red brick on the other side of the bridge. We have little patches. But at one time, every street in this neighborhood was red brick. Yeah, Kathy, it's a shame because a lot of them they didn't even bother tearing them up. They just asphalted over them. I think the nostalgia of that street is really, really cool. And like the young kids in the neighborhood, they don't appreciate that street. That street was there before I was born. And it's the last one in this end of the neighborhood. Because all the rest of them got paved over. I really hope that they don't resurface that one. I hope they leave it. Because the next street over, which basically is like almost at my driveway, 2 years ago, they asphalted the whole thing. And I was afraid that they were going to do it with the next one over. And why they did that one, I don't know. But to drive down that brick street takes me back to when I was a little kid. And when I tell, the young kids in the neighborhood, every single street was red brick, they don't believe you. Because they've grown up seeing asphalt. Oh, yeah, Linda, people don't, like around here, they don't appreciate that street because it is a little bumpy. And they're bitching. Well, first of all, it keeps you from speeding. But second of all, it's tradition. Oh, really? Well, see, well, you know where I went in Bedford. I went to Kaiser's, I went to Reardon's, and I went to the funeral home. I never drove around. Yeah, they didn't, they didn't have paving equipment back in the day. That's how they built streets, red brick. Although, you got to watch yourself on red brick, especially like right after it starts raining. That red brick is slick. And it's basically from the oil from the cars, the damn detergent oil. Because every now and then somebody will take a corner really fast down there. They end up spinning around. But I never really had much reason to drive, around Bedford. It would be nice if they're still the way they were. Because it takes you back. Like this street. I can stand at the end of that street and look down that street and envision when I was a little kid playing in that street. But when you tell young kids around here that every street was like that, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. I grew up here. And slowly, one by one, they paved them. And I hope they leave that because it's the only one in this area that's original. Matter of fact, if you look like close to the curb, the bricks, you can still see like 1946 or 1940 because they dated the bricks. They came out of the foundry dated. And in a lot of areas where it's not worn, you can see the years on the bricks. But they are slick. Because at the other end of 143rd, where it meets Lorraine, it goes up. And in the winter, it's a bitch. Because it's just enough of a grade where if those bricks are icy, goddamn car ain't going up that. And if you're not paying attention, you come over the grade, come down, and that light turns red. Uh-oh. And it's interesting because it's not that long of a section. But yeah, when you come off of Lorraine, you have to go up. That's like I tell kids. Back in the day, that railroad track that goes over Lorraine at 143rd used to be at ground level. If a train came, traffic got backed up on Lorraine. You had to wait for the train to go by. Then they took and they built a trestle to go over the street. I used to have a book that had pictures of this neighborhood back in the 30s and 40s. It was interesting how much open space there was before they made streets and built more housing. Oh yeah, Sherry, you're one of them little youngsters that don't know half of what this city looked like back in the 40s and 50s. But yeah, that railroad trestle at 143rd and Lorraine used to be at ground level. Same thing at 150th. That bridge that goes over the railroad tracks, they used to be ground level. If a train came, you just sat there. You had to wait for the fucking train to go by. I remember it because I saw them build that. Both of them, the bridge that goes over the tracks on 150th and the trestle at 143rd. I remember that. People that they think it's been there. Oh, it's been there forever. And I try to give some history lessons to the young kids around here, and they, yeah, we don't want to hear your stories. That's like I tell them about. We have a house up the street. It looks somewhat like a castle, and there were a husband and wife. They were both professors. One was at one was at Cleveland State, and I can't remember where the other one. Husband and wife. And at Halloween, they had an enclosed back porch. And at Halloween, they gave you a cup of cider and a donut. And then when you finished your cider and donut, they had the big candy bars. And they would tell you, oh, go get something for your bag. You'd get a big candy bar. Everybody looked forward to that on Halloween. Because they would go, oh, Christ, they probably got 50, 60 gallons of cider. Gerald was their name, Mr. and Mrs. Gerald. She'd ladle you out a cup of cider, and they had big pile of fry cake donuts. And you got a cup of cider and a donut. And then when you finish your cider and your donut, you got a candy bar. And there was always a line at Gerald's house on Halloween. And they said they did that because their house was like the only house in the neighborhood no kids ever screwed with. And no kids screwed with them because come Halloween they wouldn't get cider and a donut. They were a neat old couple, but both were professors. And her husband had hunted like all over the world, and his whole basement was full of fucking trophies. Because he had a goddamn lion's head down there, and what else did he have? Oh God, the whole basement was full of trophies. But I remember he had a lion's head, he had a big bear rug, deer, elk, moose. They were a neat couple. Matter of fact, in the basement, he had a 1941 Indian motorcycle. When he quit riding, he put the motorcycle in the basement. I don't know what his son did with it when they passed away. Man, I would love to have that. But instead of selling it, when he quit riding, he put the motorcycle in the basement, in his trophy room. Because he had been all over the world hunting. Oh, Kathy, his basement was unbelievable. It was all knotty pine and not paneling, one board at a time. The whole basement was knotty pine. And you name an animal, he had it down there. Because he had a goddamn water buffalo head. Fucking thing was huge. I was like, holy shit. He had been to Africa hunting and India and I can't remember what he taught. God, I don't remember now. But whatever he taught, it took him around the world. But yeah, he had a fucking lion, big fucking lion head down there. Moose, elk, deer, water buffalo. He had a big, huge bear rug in the base on the floor. They had a couple. Because he had a polar bear and a grizzly. And his whole basement was one big fucking trophy room. Yeah, he didn't catch him, he shot him. Because he had his guns displayed all around the room too. Because he'd say, well, I shot that with that gun, and I shot that with that gun. Oh, even back in the day, it had to be expensive. Because he had an end table with, well, it wasn't an end table. It was like a coffee table. And each leg on each corner was a giraffe foot. A giraffe feet, and like, brrr. Yeah, he had this big table, and each leg was the foot of a giraffe. I don't know what his son did with all them trophies, but the whole basement was unbelievable. It was like something you'd see in a movie. The trophies, just unreal. I can almost imagine what it cost for all that knotty pine wood, because the whole basement was, including the floor. The basement was like a museum. You name an animal, it was stuffed. Because he had a stuffed black bear that was standing on its back feet. That was cool. That black bear. Christ, the goddamn bear had claws on it. It had to be 6 inches long. It's like, holy shit. Every now and then, if the kids were nice, he would take us down the basement. And the trophies were unfucking real. Especially that lion head, the big mane. Ah. It was neat. Because I'm trying to think. I can't remember if. I think he passed away first. And then she lived another 2 or 3 years. And then I remember a for sale sign on the house. And I don't know what his son, because the house was full of antiques. He had trophies and she had antiques. The house itself was like a museum. And I never paid attention as to what his son did with all that stuff. Probably sold it all to antique dealers. Because they had a den that was like a library. And in the corner was an English telephone booth. one of them red, like you see on the movies. They had an English telephone booth in the corner of the den, the library, whatever they called it. And it had an actual working phone in it. Like I say, the house was like a fucking museum. But I never paid attention after his mother passed away, what happened to everything out of the house. Because I remember in the garage, there was a 1954 powder blue Cadillac four-door. That I never saw either one of them drive. I didn't know it was there until one day I drove past and the garage door was open. Because she had a Volkswagen Beetle and he had a Mercury Colony Park station wagon. So I don't know what the story was with the Cadillac in the garage, but oh yeah, I remember you telling me about the fancy doors. If you ever move, did the doors go with you? Written in the contract, doors do not stay with house. But you know the sad thing, Linda? The younger generation don't appreciate that stuff. Like I do, or you, or Kathy would. They don't. Of course, with all the crappy shit that we have today that they build houses with, there's nothing that you would consider collectible like back in the day. Like this house that I'm in has all the original interior doors. They're all maple and varnished. They're beautiful. But it's probably the only house in this area that people didn't take the doors off and throw them away. I love these old doors in this house. And every door has a fucking skeleton key lock. That's the cool thing. All these doors in this house are the original from when it was built, and they still have the skeleton keys. And every lock works because I can lock every interior door on this house. But people are like, get rid of that old door, put a new one on. No! This house has character. All the kitchen cupboards were hand built. Oh yeah, Kathy, they're made of pressed wood and that. Christ, you can put your fists through them. If I smack one of these doors, I'd break every bone in my hand. But they're beautiful. And like I say, I have all the skeleton keys. I can lock every door in this house. And you know what? If somebody bought this house, the first thing they would do is remodel the whole fucking place. Oh, those old ugly doors. I love them. I really do. Oh yeah, Linda. The kitchen, every cabinet in the kitchen is all real wood and handmade. And you could tell, they're old. But it gives this house personality. I was amazed. When I moved in, I was like, these are the original doors? And the original keys, too. Kathy, my grandmother's house was like that. Crystal doorknobs. I wish I would have taken them fucking doorknobs. Every doorknob. And they were skeleton key locks, but every doorknob in that house, because my grandmother used to clean them all the time, make them shine. Every Saturday, Windex, clean the doorknobs. And when the sun hit them, it was like a prism. They were beautiful. Matter of fact, the side door, besides being skeleton key, they put a deadbolt in. Now, in a way, when they put that deadbolt in, they destroyed the door. But I can't complain. But if I want to lock it with a skeleton key, I can still lock it that way. I don't carry them around because there isn't a key shop that can make them anymore. Because back in the day, you could go to a key shop and they'd make a skeleton key. Nowadays, you walk in a key shop and can you make one of these? What the hell is that? They don't have the equipment to cut them anymore because everything is all automatic. God, rarely can you go somewhere where they still cut a key by hand. You go to Homeless Depot, it's an automatic machine. They take your key and they stick it in a little box. And then they put the blank key in a little box and they put it in the machine. Push a button. Back in the day, you cut keys by hand. Matter of fact, the hardware store up the street from me, they still cut keys by hand. Because it surprised me when I needed to get spare keys cut for the shit box. The guy put my Nissan key in a little box, and then he took the blank and put it in a little box, and he put it in the machine, closed the door, pushed a button. Yep, if you need a special key cut, you got to go find an old hardware store like up the street from me that still does them by hand. Because if Homeless Depot can't put it in their automatic machine, you're out of luck. But it surprised me when I moved in here, seeing skeleton keys in the door locks. So I took them all out and put them on a big key ring because I don't want them to get lost. And the problem is each door is different. So you can't go around and open every door, because when I discovered that, I had to number them so I know what key goes with what door. But if I wanted to, I could lock every goddamn, even the closets. I could lock every door in this house. Although it's interesting, on the inside of the closets is a latch. So if somebody locks you in the closet, you can twist the latch and get out. But it's just on the closet doors. The inside have a little turn latch. But the outside, skeleton key lock. Kind of cool. Like I say, this house has personality. It really does. Although it's still got the old wooden double-hung windows. And the one in the front of my bedroom is so frozen, I can't get it open. The wood swelled. I can't get the window open. I tried one day with a pry bar and I almost broke it. I even sprayed WD-40 down the sides of it. Can't get it open. So screw it. I don't want to break it. It would be nice because I could get better ventilation. Opening the big, it's a big front window. No, the wood has probably been swelled for years. I can't get it open. And it's like a 48-inch window. I even tried I took a piece of 2x4 and I nailed a piece of wood on either side. So I have it in both corners. And I tried with a goddamn bumper jack. Tried to jack that window up. The top started to creak. I was like, oh, I'm going to tear the window apart. So I sprayed the shit out of it with WD-40, figuring it would. And then I took a rubber mallet and I banged all the way down each side. Still won't budge. Window probably hasn't been open since the 60s. But it would be nice to get some flow-through ventilation, but oh well. I'm not going to bust a window in this house. As a matter of fact, both front windows. The one in the living room won't open either. Now the two small ones along the driveway. But see, the wind blows up against the front of the house. That's why I wanted to try to get it open. That way I could have a nice breeze. Nope. Frozen solid. It's like somebody nailed it shut. But, hey, every other window open, so I can't complain too much. But I tried. It budged about a fraction of an inch, and that was it. I was afraid I was going to bust the glass, banging on the sides with a mallet, you know. Wouldn't free up at all. Nope. Frozen solid. Because I know back in the day, you know, people opened every window in their house in the summer. Oh, Linda, I tried everything. I took a butter knife. I come down the side and I spray WD-40. But see, you can't get to the inside. If I could get to the inside, I'd be good. But I can't get to the inside of the window. So it's... I was going to try to use a heat gun, but then I would have blistered the paint, so... just leave it. I don't want to break anything. Because I remember coming over here and playing with Doug. We were, well, what, 6, 7, 8 years old? And I remember in the summer, every window being open in this house and a box fan in the windows. There was a box fan in the living room and a box fan in the bedroom. But they probably haven't been open in years. So I put up with it. Like I said, I got my window air conditioner in the bedroom, so at least I can cool the bedroom down. Yeah, this morning was like a meat locker. Oh, God, was it cold. I hadn't realized the temperature was going to drop that much. I didn't pay attention to the weather. I shut the air conditioner off and grabbed a blanket. It was like, whoop. Cold. Yeah, I went up to I had to get some more salad, and the little redhead cutie was working. She works evenings all the time. And she said to me, "Did you see Anna's car?" Yeah, she told me about it as soon as I walked in. So I asked her, I said, "When are you buying a car?" She said, "Oh, my father won't let me." I said, "Even if you saved up money?" She says, "Oh, I have money saved up. My father won't let me buy a car until I'm 18. I hadn't realized she wasn't 18. God, girls today, they look way older than their age. I told her, I says, "I thought you were in your 20s. She goes, "No, I just turned 17. I was like, holy shit. A sign of getting old. When you can't tell girls' ages anymore. God, that shocked the hell out of me. I did. I thought she was 21, 22. No, I just turned 17. I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, see, Linda, if I could open that front window, I really wouldn't need the air conditioner. I could put a fan in that window because at night there's a nice cool breeze that blows through here, but yeah, well, that's the way it was this morning. Like I said, my bedroom was so cold, you could have hung swinging beef in there. Jeez. I get up and I grab the blanket wrap. It's like, holy shit. So tonight, I won't need the AC. Matter of fact, I'll put it on fan, and when I start to fall asleep, I'll turn the fan off. Oh, it was cold. Holy shit. I hate to see what my electric bill's going to look like. It was a tuxedo cat that just walked down my neighbor's driveway. I thought it was Boots. But he had different markings. Wonder where he came from. Now he's coming back the other way. Nope, it's not Boots. Thank God. If he got out, ugh. And then you could tell it was cold in the bedroom. Because every time I moved over, he moved over. He was like, hey, keep me warm. He was right up against me. I was like, hey, give me some room here. I slide over, he slides over. Yeah, I agree, Kathy. That's sad what you got to go through with, Linda. You can't even feel safe in your own house. Christ, I think back in the day growing up, nobody shut windows. As a matter of fact, if people had to go to the store, they left the windows wide open. I remember nobody locked their house up tighter than a drum. God. People open every goddamn window. We didn't even lock our house. But it was a different time. But yeah, I can remember, like, after dinner on Sunday, we would go for the Sunday drive. All my parents would do is shut the door. Every window in the house wide open. Come back home. Everything was okay. Oh, I wouldn't chance it here, Kathy. Nothing but a bunch of hoodlums in this neighborhood. But growing up, nobody closed. I know for a fact the people that live next door to us, Carl and Marge, and the people that lived on the other side of us, George and Eileen, the three houses in a row, nobody ever locked a door. Because I remember one day, Carl and Marge had gone somewhere, and they forgot to turn something off. And they had called my parents and said, run over to our house and shut off whatever. And my parents just walked in the door and took care of what needed. No one locked houses. Nobody shut windows. God, my father left the fucking keys in his car. God, my father used to leave the goddamn keys in the ignition. He'd pull in the drive at night, shut the car off. 'Cause I can remember one day come in the house. Dad, you left these in the car. Go put them back. Okay, stuck the key back in the ignition. Matter of fact, I know George and Carl would leave the keys in their car too. Nobody. Nowadays, you lock your goddamn house up like Fort Knox. You have to put burglar bars on the house. 5 goddamn different security systems. It's sad. Growing up, a house alarm was unheard of. I drive up my old street, and almost every house on the street has some sort of security sign, ADT or Gilmore or the Ring doorbell cameras. God, I think every house up the street has one. It's sad. Back in the day, your home was your castle. Today, your home is a fortress. I think I am the only person that doesn't have an alarm system on their house. I know Mary Ann's got one. I know they have one next door. Rob across the street. The guy on the corner. Jim had one on his house. There are very few houses in this neighborhood that don't have alarm systems. Oh, what the hell's that, Kathy? I don't think we had smoke alarms until the 90s around here. As a matter of fact, the only 1 year, the fire department gave one smoke alarm per household. Because I remember the fire truck driving through the neighborhood, and the firemen were carrying them, and they went up to every house, and they said, here's a free alarm. Because the city had some big federal grant. That's the only way we had a smoke alarm in our house, was we got it from the fire department for free. Oh, Kathy, people had to be rich. Whole house air conditioning, or even a window unit. Growing up, we didn't even have a window unit. We had fans. Well, yeah, Linda, that was a problem. If somebody came home drunk and went in the wrong house, yep. Yeah. I think when they got the smoke alarm, they came with the smoke alarm. Now me, I have stickers on the front door and the side door that says, I have 2 cats. Save my cats. Yeah, back in the day, that's all they did. They sucked hot air from the outside, blew it through the house, and out the back. Because when it was hot, there was no such thing as cool air. That's all, yeah, that's all they did. Blew hot air around the house. But nobody locked their doors. Nobody shut their windows. God, do that today, you come home to an empty house. I'm amazed at how many Ring doorbells there are in this neighborhood, because you can't miss a Ring doorbell. I think I'm the only house that doesn't have a Ring doorbell or an alarm. It's sad that you have to live that way. It really is. Matter of fact, the woman down the street that got carjacked at gunpoint has fucking burglar bars on the first floor all the way around the house now. She's that paranoid. And the goddamn side door in her house looks like something that came off a fucking safe at Fort Knox. It's sad. Those are times we will never see again. They're memories. You tell somebody today, oh, we never closed up our houses. Tell somebody, oh, we left the keys in the car. They're like, you're fucking nuts. I know for years, my father never took the key out of the ignition. But different times. Sad what the world's come to. It really is. God, growing up, the only people that had guns were hunters. Or law enforcement officers. Now it's sad that you have to carry one just to go to Dollar Tree. Of course, of all places for them to build a Dollar Tree, right in the middle of the ghetto. Well, you know, Linda, if you own a Hyundai or a Kia, even locking your car and setting the alarm is no good. Because somewhere on the internet, you can get a phone app that will unlock and start the car. That's how these young kids are stealing all these Kias. It's amazing how many Kias in this neighborhood get stolen. Because somewhere, I've yet to find it. I tried a couple of times. You can get an app for your cell phone that will unlock the door, shut off the alarm, and start the car. And, you know, every car has an alarm. In this neighborhood, a car alarm will go off and nobody even pays attention to it. Back in the day, a car alarm went off. Every neighbor in the neighborhood was looking out their window. Now a car alarm goes off and it's like, eh. It was like the other night. Somebody's alarm went off. Cars beep, 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 beep. You think anybody would go out and take care of their... Nope. Thing must have beeped for an hour. Beep, 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 beep. People ignore them. Yeah, somewhere. It's... I don't know how to find them. I tried. I literally had a teenage kid tell me that you could get an app for your cell phone that would literally unlock and start a Kia. Any Kia. There was a group of kids that they called them the Kia Boys because they stole so many Kias that the police got to know them. There were like 4 of them. They called them the Kia Boys. They'd go joyriding and then just dump the car. Get another one. It got to be the point, the 4 of them tried to outdo one another how many Kias they could steal in one night. And all they would do was drive around a couple of streets, see another Kia, unlock it, drive it away, leave the stolen one there, drive a couple of streets over, find another one. Yeah, an app on their cell phone. Real good security. And from what I was told, you can get an app for any car made. You want to steal Fords? Get a Ford app. You know, real good software, Kia. Mr. Regan pops in just as I'm getting ready to sign off. Well, at least he popped in for a visit. Because I think it's that time. I'm getting hungry. we know where, right here. And with that, everybody, thanks for being here. Too bad we're losing subscribers, but oh well. Makes for a smaller family. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your evening. Stay cool. And we will meet again tomorrow night. See ya. Take 2. See ya. Oh, come on. Take 3.